So we have another really fantastic update. We're going to be hearing from Adam Krefting, owner and inventor of CushCore. CushCore officially launched in 2017 after winning the BBC early stage competition in 2016. Their tire suspension system is revolutionizing the mountain bike industry. Hear what they've been up to lately.
Hi, I'm Adam Krefting. Thanks for the invite. Any of you remember this? CushCore? We presented this at the Ben Venture Conference early stage competition like 2.5 years ago. So we were pre-launch at that time, and we won that competition. We used the money to buy our first production mold, and then we started producing product and started actually selling in 2017. So those of you who aren't familiar with it, this is a foam tire insert. It goes inside of a mountain bike tire. It's designed to improve the performance of the tire. It adds an element of suspension. It provides damping and shock absorption. It also stabilizes the tire laterally to improve cornering performance. It helps protect the wheel and reduces flats. So that's the basic idea. Since the Ben Venture Conference and since we launched in February 17, it's been a really wild ride. I'm going to try to condense 2.5 years of insanity into 5 minutes here. I'll do my best. We started off just by sending as much product as we could to influencers in the industry, professional mountain bike racers, media outlets, and started getting feedback. And what we found, much to our delight, is that people loved it. It really has a dramatic effect on the way that the bike feels when you're riding it, and the people at the top of the sport really like it. So within that first season, over half of the athletes in the Enduro World Series and UCI World Cup downhill, the elite level events, were using CushCore, and they weren't sponsored. They were just buying it. So we got this instant validation, that it was really working. We also got a couple of really good media reviews. We got a couple of not so good media reviews. It's been a really controversial product because it's a bicycling product, but it adds weight to your bike, right, which is taboo. But it also provides some important performance benefits. And there have been a lot of things like this in the past in the bike industry that become really controversial, like, for example, rear suspension. When it was new, there was a huge battle over it because you're adding weight and complexity, and there's all these problems and everything. But over time, people come to understand that, well, the benefits are actually worth the additional weight and complexity. And I think that we're going to see that with CushCore as time goes on. In 2017, another important step for us was we got a loan from Summit Bank to help purchase additional molds and inventory to meet the demand. We ran out of product a few times early on there just because we couldn't produce fast enough. And that helped us kind of get on top of it. We also added a lot of staff. Dan Hallida is still with me. He presented with me originally at the Ben Venture Conference. He's our marketing director. We've also added Kenny Roberts and Matt Lynch in sales. Randall Schuld manages our warehouse. Serena McCallie is our bookkeeper. And most recently, we added Nick Zabak as our media content creator. So we kind of have a real team now. And we moved facilities as well. We were totally packed into like a 2,400 square foot warehouse, all standing on top of each other. We moved just down the street to a 63 square foot place. And now we're pretty much still on top of each other. But doing our best to manage it. At the same time, we moved to that new facility. We implemented a Kanban inventory management system to really try to eliminate the risk of running out of product mid-season when demand is really hot in high summer without having to store too much inventory. And that new inventory system is much thanks to Dave and Cleve from OMEP Consultants. And so this year, starting from 0 2 years ago, we're on track to sell 80,000 inserts this year. The U.S. is still our strongest single market, but we sell a lot internationally. In fact, over half of our sales are international. Canada, Europe, and Australia are the big ones. So this year, we kind of have two big pushes for this year. One is data acquisition. We want to prove our marketing claims, a lot of companies out there just kind of say that our product is this and that, right, without any real evidence or backing. And so we hired a company to put data acquisition sensors on mountain bikes to measure the performance difference before and after CushCore. And they did a series of tests, and long story short, what they found is that CushCore makes the ride on a mountain bike 12% smoother. 12% is huge. So to us, this was a really big deal. And now we actually had data to go with what we felt subjectively. It also improves the efficiency of the suspension because it's absorbing a portion of that impact force right there at the tire before it has a chance to get transmitted up through the suspension and up to the rider. And it also controls the tire rebound force. So the bike ends up using 16% less suspension travel. It also rolls faster than a traditional tire. It reduces rolling resistance by 3%. Because of the suspension benefits, it's helping keep the tire on the ground, and it's loading the tire casing more consistently. And finally, laterally, side to side, it's 35% more stable, 35% stiffer, so it controls tire roll in corners. I'm not sure if any of this makes sense to people who aren't mountain bikers. Okay. And then new products, we've really expanded our product line. So we started off just with the original product, which is for your standard like 2.4-inch mountain bike tire. We've since released a plus size for wide tires. We are just now, like yesterday, we received our first shipment of XC, which is like an ultra lightweight version for cross-country racers. We also have a gravel version coming out soon for road bikes. We have an installation tool coming out in 2 months. And our next big development project is for motorcycles. We're going to put this technology to use in off-road motorcycles. It'll do exactly the same thing for dirt bikes that it does for mountain bikes. And obviously, we're doing a lot of new products at the same time. And once again, this was thanks to another loan from Summit Bank that allowed us to purchase all these molds at the same time. I'm happy that we've been able to do that with bank financing rather than venture capital. It's just kind of the direction that we wanted to go. So along this path, EDCO and BVC have been a big part of our success. It wasn't just the money from that competition. It was also they brought Dan and I together, introduced us to a lot of other entrepreneurs in the community that have helped us. And in that, the early stage competition, it really forced us to get our pitch dialed so that we could present the product in a concise and compelling way. And I didn't realize how important it was to do that early on, but I'm glad that we had to do that before we ever even started selling product. So I think in the future, I really do believe CushCore is poised for a lot more growth. Our hope, long run, is that this will become the default tire inflation system for avid mountain bikers. This is exactly what's happened with tubeless in the last decade. There are no more inner tubes in mountain biking. All the more experienced mountain bikers or people who care about performance use tubeless. And I think it's realistic we could see the same thing happen with CushCore over the next decade. So thanks very much.
Okay, so we have about 5 minutes of questions. So if you have questions, I'll repeat it into the mic for our recording purposes, and then we can go from there. Any questions for Adam? Right back here in the red vest. How much is CushCore?
The retail price is $149 for a set. It's sold as a set with 2 inserts and 2 air valves. We strongly recommend that you run it in both front and rear tires because it's a tire suspension system. It would be really strange to have a mountain bike with rear suspension and no front suspension. Generally, the people that we see who run it in the back only are only thinking about it in terms of rim protection or flat protection.
And are you distributing those directly or through some of the local bike shops?
Yeah, we sell direct online. We sell to distributors and to bike shops directly. So basically, we sell everywhere. We have an Amazon store too. But yeah, it is carried by, I believe, the majority of the local bike shops.
More questions. Right back here, John.
You mentioned some pretty impressive efficiency gains from that, some of your data that came out. And I was kind of curious, okay, so you've got that, so how much weight does it really add?
So how much weight does it add to the bike?
So it adds 250 grams per wheel. That's the weight of our standard insert. The ultra lightweight version is only 140 grams. But what we often tell people to go along with that is that you can often change the tire choice. So because you're not relying so much on the tire casing to provide that structure and stability and protection from flats, you can usually run a lighter, thinner casing tire, and that improves the feel of the tire anyway. It's more supple on small bumps, and the lighter, thinner casing tire rolls more efficiently. So my personal favorite combination is like a nice light tire that has a very supple casing combined with CushCore. I think you get the best of both worlds.
Cool. Right back here.
You made a comment about being happy with choosing traditional bank financing versus venture capital. Can you tell us kind of what your thought process was on that trade-off?
Yeah, so recapping your thought process on bank financing versus going after VC for your funding needs.
Well, it's a couple things. I mean, I thought VC was scary for one thing. You know, when we were at the venture conference, some people approached us that I wasn't excited about working with, you know. And also I didn't want to be under the gun to, you know, make a ton of money as fast as possible and sell the company as fast as possible to have this payoff for the VCs looming over my head all over the time. You know, I want to take the time to develop the company the way that I thought was best. And, you know, maybe we'll sell it eventually, but I'd rather it just be when the time is right, if ever.
Nice. High five, Adam. I love this guy already. Okay, here we go, Don.
Yeah, have you thought about getting a big name endorser, sponsor, rider to help get your message out?
So can you talk a little bit more about those influencers and if you have any big names on board?
Yeah, definitely. Well, many of the biggest names in the sport are already riding CushCore. We just did an event in Sedona, Arizona with Richie Brood. He's an Enduro World Series champion that spent the weekend with us, and you know, many of the Enduro and downhill pros that are really at the top of the sport are using it. So we're trying to figure out this year how we can make better use of those connections, you know. It's kind of a delicate balance because we want to show that the top racers in the sport are using the product, but we also don't want to say that it's exclusively for racers, you know, that any rider who cares about performance can benefit from it. So it's a little tricky, you know. We try to do some content with racers and some with just regular trail riders.
I think moms are a way to address that. I'm thinking about, like, we're the novice mountain bike family, so a lot of this stuff I was like, oh, I'm clearly not a good mountain biker. I don't get what you're saying, but I buy bikes for the family, so just a tip. Okay, was there one more question out there? One more. Do you have time to actually ride mountain bikes with this growing rocket ship business?
No.
Okay, you gotta love an honest guy. Let's give it up for Adam.